So you're gonna take your 266 brush or any brush. Like, okay, the first brush I used had stiffer hairs in it. This one has much softer hairs, and I like to use a brush with softer hairs when, sorry, I'm tending to my baby. But I like to use a brush with softer hairs when I'm using a powder, because I feel like it helps disperse the powder throughout your brows better. And so I'm just going to take it and start at the end. I feel like I want the end of my brow to be a little bit darker than the front of it, the tail of my brow. And also, I think that, you know, when you start from the end and move to the front, it helps give it a little bit more natural look and makes it so that you don't get a lot of product in the front of your brow. And I'm just going to do the same with this one. And you may have to, you know, do this a couple of times. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through your brow, add in the powder, and then brush, you know, so it's not really built up in your brow. And it's okay if you have like some tiny spaces, because it looks more natural when you have a few spaces in your brow, as opposed, in my opinion, as opposed to it being all the way perfect all the way through. I don't think that really looks natural. So just gonna, you know, brush it lightly through, and, you know, do it like that. And now, if you can tell, this brow is a little bit thicker than this one, but I'm not gonna thicken this brow. I'm gonna thin this one out, because I feel like when you try to thicken the brow that's not as thick as the other one, you end up making it look crazy. So I would rather make this one a little bit thinner than to make this one thicker, if you get what I mean. So I'm finished with that, and I'm gonna take a small flat brush, and this is by Nika K, and it's an NB011 brush. And I'm gonna take my MAC Studio Finish Concealer in NC35. If you can see that, by MAC. And I like this concealer because it's thicker and it stays better, and you can use it as a brow highlight. You may not necessarily want to use a brow eyeshadow to highlight up under your brow, so this one works really perfectly for doing that. And I'm just gonna draw a thin line underneath my eyebrows. Now, you don't have to do this every single time you do your brows. It's not necessary, especially if they're already groomed. Mine aren't 100% groomed right now. So I am gonna use it, but it's not totally necessary. And as you can see, it's a lot lighter than my natural skin tone, which is why I said you can use it as a brow highlight. I use it as a primer as well. So I'm just going to take my finger and bring it down a little bit here. And as you can see, it blends out really nicely, and you're left with a beautiful shape. Also, gonna bring it up just a little bit more than I normally would, so it can be closer to the size of that right brow. And gonna do the same over here, but I'm gonna stay just a little bit further away from the hairs because I don't want to thin it out, since this one was the thinner brow to begin with. I want to keep it, pretty much keep its same shape, just cleaning up around the edge to make it a little bit sharper. And I'm going to do the same thing. Take my finger, kind of just blend that downward. It's going to help to serve as a primer for whatever I use to highlight my brow bone and whatever I use to blend with. So there are my brows. Now I don't really use concealer on the top of my brows all the time. You can if you want, and if you do, I use my LA Girl Pro Conceal in Warm Honey. That's GC 982. There, you can see that. And it has its own brush, but I just like to put a little bit on either a palette, or when I'm doing my own makeup, I put it on the back of my hand. And just take a tiny little bit and go over the top of my brow. And like I said, I don't do this every single time because I don't feel like it's always necessary, especially if your eyebrows are already groomed. But if you deem it necessary, then you just go ahead and have at it. But I don't like, you know, too much of an outline around my eyebrow. But it does kind of give you that freshly waxed look if you're not freshly waxed on your brows. So I'm gonna go a little bit and do the same on this side. Okay, and then again I take my